Here you see the new speakers from Gryphon. A completely different approach. For us, definitely different. It is also the first time ever we design a speaker where Flemming didn't do the external drawings. It was Søren Slebo, our tech designer, who's been working very closely together with Flemming for 12 years. You know, when Flemming did a drawing on a napkin or a piece of paper or coffee filter or whatever, he always handed it over to Søren, and Søren made it, you know, into reality in a cat drawing or whatever on the computer. But this time we had enough faith in Søren. We said to him, why don't you do the design? And he was kind of, oh, do you think so? And I said, yeah, go for it. You can do it. You know, you have so much Gryphon in your DNA, so we believe in you. So this is the first exterior design 100% from Søren ever. And we call it like a stealth design because you have so many angles, and it's probably a little bit compatible to Lamborghini when you see all the sharp edges and stuff like that. But it also serves a very good purpose because you eliminate standing waves inside the cabinet. So you actually have to use less damping materials, and you can use less thickness of the cabinet when you're building something like that. Furthermore, when we're using MDF and HDF in the cabinet, the angles, first we have applied actually pretty thick laminate on top of the metal of the wood, and then you paint that laminate so it becomes like constrained layers again, which eliminates resonances in the cabinet. What you see here is actually that the feet, they are not made from aluminium. They are made from compact laminate. And compact laminate is compressed paper. Oh. Yeah. So it looks like aluminium, but it's not. This also looks like it's aluminium. This is also compact laminate. The entire crossover is mounted on compact laminate because compact laminates eliminates resonances. So that's why we're using it. It is also the very first time that we are using a beryllium dome. And this is definitely the largest on the market. It's 34 millimeter big. So it's huge. And I remember when our speaker designer, Benno Meldgaard, he came to me and he said, we're going to use the beryllium tweeter. And I was just like, what? You're not. We are used to use, we are using the AMT from Mundorf. We're not going to use a beryllium. And he said, I'm going to use the beryllium. And I said, okay, let's try. But with the beryllium tweeter, I think he tamed it. So it has so much resolution, so much. It's just so natural listening to it. It's not harsh. You're not actually listening to the tweeter, which is nice. But in the combination with the driver, it is a perfect compromise and a perfect partner to the driver. The driver that's also first time ever that we are using this type of driver with this type of material. We've never done it before. It is carbon fiber diaphragm. It's made by a Swedish company, which is called Composite Sound or Techstream. And the driver itself is built by SB Acoustics in Denmark. Then you see this special ring that we have here. This is an impulse response ring, which means that it's attached right on top of the spider. It makes the driver work like a piston. You want to have a conventional driver to work like a piston. But it improves the bass response, especially in the lower frequencies. And that's why we're capable of dropping down to 29, 26 hertz on such a small speaker. That comes from this impulse response ring. This impulse response ring is made from the same material as you see here, again, the POM. The material's consistency is so good that you don't have to CNC machine it. You can actually put it into a machine and then grind it out. And so even though that we are adding on, I think it's 6.2 grams, and normally you don't want to make it heavier, but in this case, because it improves so much in the bass response, we have decided to do it like that. It also has a tunnel port system, which means there is a port on the rear and a port on the front. The speaker itself has actually been designed to be very close to the rear wall. It works perfectly out here in the open, but you can play them like this far away from the rear wall, and then have the room to work with together with the speaker. Let's say you are in an environment with lots of glass around you, and maybe the rear wall is also glass. Probably you want to close the rear wall and open the front port. But in most cases, you want to have the rear port open. You don't get more bass by opening the front port. It is just how you play together with it in the room. So that's how we have designed this new speaker. And when you look at all the angles, they are very, very important in terms of the dispersion and in terms of the reflections. We have also attached a small, you can see it. There's a small switch on the rear side that goes, it says ultra high frequency. It depends on how far away you play from the rear side walls, how much toe end you have, because the speaker is delivered with a toe end template. So you work from 4 up till, I think, maximum of 16-degree toe in. And then you move the switch, because then you affect the tweeter. So it's a kind of an adjustment for that. This is also the first time we have made that. The tunnel port system, this is not something we have invented. I know that Wilson Audio did that on the, I think it was on the Alexandria back in the past. Yes, back in the days. But in this case, it doesn't change the character of the speaker. It doesn't change the dynamics. Nothing changes. It is just how it is incorporated with the room. And also for such a small speaker. But of course, right now it's being powered by the Apex. So, but yeah. But of course, you can hear the quality, no doubt. I think, let's say, for instance, they are very, very good for, let's say, an environment like Norway. They're having a lot of hard materials when they're building. They're having a lot of glass, very modern. And if they need to play the speakers very close to the rear wall, and they have glass, they will probably close the rear port, not to have too many vibrations from the glass. But they work very, very well when you play them very close to the wall. And I think, for instance, for a market like Hong Kong, where you don't have like huge listening rooms, or for instance in New York, or places where you have many condos, but you still want to have a very nice system there, they're very good because you don't have to put them out into the living room. It's a different approach, because normally when we are talking about speakers, very audiophile, we need to bring them into the room to create the sound stage. But in some, in some houses, it doesn't work like that. You can play the speakers in the middle of the living room. You will have to play them further back. But so in that design process, we decided, it could be very cool to make them, use the room acoustics. So they are actually collaborating with the room, because most cases a speaker works against the room and vice versa. The room is very often, the most difficult part to get, hold of and make sure that everything sounds right and resonates. And we're always struggling with the room. Should we have more absorption? Should we have diffusion? And it's always the problem. So it's better get the room right to begin with than trying to do all sorts of stuff, you know, because sometimes it doesn't work like that. So I think having that approach that we actually make the speaker work together with the room is a new approach. We have not, you know, it is not a secret that we are looking into a new range, a new series of speakers. So this is the EOS 2, and EOS because you have two. And EOS, if you look at EOS up, you know, Google it, it will tell you it is the new day, a new beginning. That's what it means, and this is the new beginning for Gryphon and our speaker design. So yeah, it is definitely the first in a row, hopefully, of many speakers. I don't see that we will make a smaller, like a stand mount. A stand mount is equally expensive to manufacture, and in many cases even more expensive if you want to have, you know, a high-performance stand attached to it. And from a performance point of view, it made more sense for us to make it as a floor stander than a stand mount. Definitely.
So minimum, the room size is how small for the EOS 2?
You can play them in a small room, definitely. Definitely. I would say you can play down to like, typically, I would say 15 to 20 square meters. Definitely. Easily. Because you can play them so close to the rear wall. So, but of course there is a maximum how big the room, because then you won't get the physical impact. It is only one driver. But you can play them in a relatively large room. This is a relatively large room. But our listening room at the factory, okay, so our listening room at the factory is 20 square meters larger, 25 square meters larger. And we are playing them in that room as well. But you don't get that physical impact due to the sheer size of the room. You have so much more air that you need to move. And it's impossible with only one driver.